Hey everybody! I'm so excited to be here. We have about 1 minute before we go live, so I'm just going to set everything up and we will get started momentarily. Hey guys, 7 of you so far. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so honored to be invited into your community today. I just got off a podcast recording, so I'll get all my things prepared here. Hey Francis, thanks so much for the likes, guys. Feel free to share the video in the corner. And I got a bunch of questions from you guys beforehand, so we're going to be going through a lot of stuff. I'll try to talk slow enough that you can catch all the awesome things. And if you have questions, additional questions, I'll try to answer if it relates to what I'm talking about, so feel free to add it to the little message board and we'll get started. So let's just start off. My name is Leanne Vogel. I am a nutrition educator and author of The Keto Diet. I'm actually in the process of moving, so I don't have a copy of the book right here with me tonight. My book came out April 11th. It's going really, really well. I started keto about 3 years ago this July, so I just celebrated my keto-versary for the 3rd year. I've used the ketogenic diet to completely transform my life, and I'm really excited to be sharing all this information with you tonight. You can find more from me at healthfulpursuit.com. So the first question that you guys submitted was, what is the difference between keto and a regular low-carb diet? So a ketogenic diet is a low-carb, high-fat diet where we are using fat as fuel, both from our body as well as the fat that we're eating, to go into fat burning mode. So what's different between a ketogenic diet and a low carb diet is that a ketogenic diet can be a low carb diet, but a low carb diet may not necessarily be a ketogenic diet. A ketogenic diet means you're eating low carb, high fat, whereas a low carb diet could be low carb, low fat, low carb, high protein. So the magic behind a ketogenic diet is eating enough fat that we switch into fat burning mode. So that's first off. The second question is, I'm so overwhelmed by the information. How do I get started eating keto? I know that when I first found keto back in 2014, I was pretty overwhelmed with the information too. And having studied nutrition, I guess it would have been 7 years ago when I found ketosis and the ketogenic diet, I was overwhelmed and I had studied nutrition. So I think the best place to get started if you're interested in the ketogenic diet is first look at the fats you can incorporate. So fat could mean avocado oil, coconut oil, cacao butter. That's the fat from chocolate, delicious. And then it could be more of the animal-based fats, like maybe you have access to grass-fed tallow or pasture-raised lard. If you're not sensitive to butter, grass-fed butter is a really good one. And the second part is protein. So looking for more of your high-fat proteins are really great. My favorites are pork shoulder, brisket, chicken thighs with the skin are really, really great. And then the third piece is snacks. Really important if you're a snacker and you are just getting going with your ketogenic diet, you'll probably need some form of snacks as you get started. So my favorite ketogenic snacks are celery with any sort of nut or seed butter. I really, really, really love cucumbers with nut-based hummus where you just pretend macadamia nuts or beans and make a hummus out of that. It could be as simple as some bacon with some avocado oil mayo, or maybe you're more of a sweet type of person and you really like chocolate. You could do some dark, unsweetened chocolate, just chocolate with maybe some coconut butter or almond butter or peanut butter or anything that you have access to kind of boost the fat. My husband's favorite way of boosting the fat in his chocolate is taking dark chocolate and then putting a piece of ghee on top. He just loves that. And then the fourth piece is if you're totally confused about, how to step through keto step by step, I actually created a 30-day 30-day guide called The Keto Beginning. I released that back in 2014, and it really highlights the first 30 days of me eating high fat, low carb and how I managed. So you guys can get more information about The Keto Beginning by going to ketoval.com/30, and I actually made a sign for you to make it easy. So you can just go to this URL, check it out. It's called The Keto Beginning, and you get some more information about going keto and the steps you can take and the steps that I took to be successful. So you can check that out. And the third question is, do I need to weigh my food in order to be successful in a ketogenic diet? I did for the first little while, just to get a sense of how many carbohydrates and stuff that I was eating. I was tracking it all. But the benefit to following a program like my program, The Keto Beginning, is that you don't really need to think about it, and you can spend more time, I don't know, doing things you like maybe having an afternoon nap or going for a walk or playing soccer with your friends or whatever you find to be beneficial. You can do that instead. You don't have to weigh your food in order to be successful. Even now that I have a sense of what keto feels like in my body, I find that I don't need to track or monitor what I'm eating, just because it's easy for me to just know what feels good and what doesn't. But if you're new to it, you may find that following a program like The Keto Beginning is helpful, so you don't need to think about it. Next question is it really important to count calories and fat as long as you stay under 20 grams of carbs? Not necessarily. So there are some people that benefit from eating a low-carb, high-fat diet, a ketogenic diet, where they're tracking everything. They thrive on it. It doesn't affect them mentally. I know it did for me when I was tracking everything. I started becoming really obsessed, seeing how low I could go with my numbers. So if that's you, look at your plate and kind of see how you can structure your plate on a daily basis to ensure that you're eating enough fat. So how I do this is in the morning when I'm creating something, I'm looking at my plate top down, like I literally put it on a table or countertop, and I'm saying, like, how much fat is in here? Could I add more? How many carbohydrates are in here? Could I maybe take out a little bit? How much protein is in here? What sources is it? And kind of just look top down. But if you're the type of person who loves to track, sure, do it. But if you're eating 20 grams of carbs or less, you don't really need to worry about that piece of it. But you definitely need to worry about protein if it's an issue for you. Some people react more to protein where their blood sugar actually spikes. So just ensure that with every meal you're eating no more than a palm size of protein. That's usually enough. And you don't need to weigh or measure that in order to be successful. And then with fat, my whole thing is if you're first getting going, you're probably not eating enough fat. So it's just about getting into the groove of adding more and more and more fat into your meals as you become accustomed to it. And if you don't, if you're new to this way of eating and you're not really sure how you're going to add this much fat, something that I like doing is adding fat to my coffee. I do decaf coffee. You could do tea. You could do like sort of a milkshake thing where you're adding non-dairy milk or regular milk to the blender with maybe a handful of spinach, some cacao powder, so like chocolate powder or cocoa powder, however you want to call it, with some fats. Blend it up. You're boosting your fats, maybe even as much as 50 grams in one blended drink. So I would highly recommend checking that out. Another question we got from you guys is how impactful is drinking zero-carb liquor if you're trying to lose weight? So I'll kind of explain how all these things burn in your body. So when you have alcohol in your body, the first fuel your body is going to burn is the alcohol. It's not going to burn carbohydrates, it's not going to burn fat, it's not going to burn protein, it's going to go toward the alcohol. Then, if there's no alcohol, it'll go to carbohydrates. If there's no carbohydrates or glucose or glycogen in your body, then it'll move to fat. So if you're trying to adapt to this way of eating by becoming low carb, high fat, becoming fat adapted, when you're trying to become fat adapted and you're over here trying to burn fat, you don't have carbohydrates in your body, but you have alcohol in your body, it's going to burn through that alcohol before it goes back to burning fat. So just knowing that is really important. I find now that I'm fat adapted, which means that my body really, really, really knows how to burn fat and actually quite enjoys burning fat on over here. If I do have a little bit of alcohol, it burns it really quick and goes back to burning fat quite effortlessly. If you were to drink zero carb alcohol, say your second day of being in ketosis, you're probably not going to see those benefits. I would say that maybe play around with alcohol once you have transitioned, to more of the fat-fueled, or rather fat-adapted phase. Okay, I'm going to check the comments, see if there's anything I want to add. What happens if you don't eat enough fat but standard 20 grams of carbs? So if you don't eat enough fat, you're not going to feel very good, and you're probably going to be really hungry. So if you're hungry, eat. And if you're hungry, maybe eat some more fat. What can you add to your tea? So some things you can add to your tea would include something like coconut oil or MCT oil. I really love adding cacao butter to my tea. It gives it like a chocolatey taste. It'd be really good if you're making Earl Grey tea. I really enjoy cacao butter with Earl Grey tea, and that's just the fat from chocolate. What's a good way to add fat without going over in protein? I find oils are really good with that. That's kind of been my go-to, is just adding more oil to things. Okay, cool. So the next question is, how many meals should I eat in a day in keto? So I average about 2 meals a day. That's kind of where I feel best. But if you're first getting going with keto, just eat when you're hungry. You'll have time to adjust how much you eat and when you eat a little bit later. I would say that you definitely want to transition over to keto when you're hungry, have those high-fat snacks, and just know that as you become fat-adapted and you're eating more fat, you're probably not going to want to eat as much, and you may find that it's easy to only have 2 meals a day. But I wouldn't start off, day 2 on the ketogenic diet, I can only have 1 meal in a day. Just let your body kind of figure it out, and you'll find about 2, maybe 3 weeks in, that all of a sudden you've gone the whole day without eating, and it's 3 o'clock, and you're like, oh my gosh, did I just do that? Then yay, you're only having 1 meal that day. So that would be my thoughts on that. Okay, cool. So if we have any additional time at the end of the recording, if you have extra questions that we're not answering or that don't flow with what I'm answering, then I'll go back to them and answer them then. The next question is, do you have meal plans that beginners can use? I'm horrible at meal planning or figuring out the right stuff to eat. I totally understand what you're saying. In fact, so many people have questions about that. I actually put together a program called Balanced Keto, and it shows you exactly what to eat, how to eat it, when to prepare it, enough food for one person, and it's a meal plan, and you get it every Tuesday. It's delivered to your inbox. You get it in your inbox, and then you can follow those meals and those recipes for the entire week. I'll pull it up here. I made another sign. I'm really crafty. It's ketoval.com/plan. Check that out. I'll hold it up for a little bit longer, and that will go through my Balanced Keto program. So like I said, you get meal plans every Tuesday delivered to your inbox, a shopping list, everything you need to eat, plus all the recipes. And I'm a pretty simple person. I'm not really big into spending a lot of time in the kitchen doing all the things. So they're really, really easy recipes that you can put together quite effortlessly. And if it's just you eating, it's really handy because it's just made for one person, as opposed to if you have a lot of people in your house, you can just duplicate all the recipes in the shopping list and such. Let me check to make sure. How often can you have berries? If you're first getting going, berries might be a really good way of satisfying that sweet feeling that you need if you have a sweet tooth like myself. And you may find as you get going with your ketogenic diet that you don't crave as much sweetness, therefore you don't need as much berries. I don't eat berries that often. Sometimes we pick up some blackberries and I'll kind of put them on a salad, a couple of them, but it's not a big thing for me. Okay, we answered that question. What are some good ways to add healthy fats into the diet when you're allergic to coconut oil? Oh my gosh, when you're allergic to coconut. I thought I was allergic to coconut for a while, so that was not very fun for me. But things that you can go toward if you're sensitive to coconut or coconut oil are things like lard, tallow, beef suet, avocado oil, olive oil, the cacao butter we've been talking about. Can you have soy sauce on keto? You could. I try to do a soy-free version for hormone regulation, but soy sauce is pretty low in carbohydrates. If you're sensitive to soy, you could use coconut aminos, only if you're not sensitive to coconut. Okay. Are exogenous ketones really necessary, or is it better to allow your body to convert ketones on its own via something like MCT oil? Okay, so exogenous ketones are a product that has gained popularity, especially lately. And up until a couple of months ago, I had a huge problem with these products because I didn't understand the quality. A lot of the companies out there with these exogenous ketone products use a lot of fillers, don't clearly state how much BHB or beta-hydroxybutyrate they have in their product. They charge an exorbitant amount of money. Some of them are part of an MLM, so not everyone can have access to the product, so it just didn't sit well with me. And basically what exogenous ketones are is they help your body they boost your ketones in your body, basically. It doesn't necessarily push your body into ketosis or actually put you in a state of ketosis that your body, use to get there, but it can be very, 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 very helpful if you're already eating low carb, high fat, and you've been eating this way for a while and you're just not feeling the best. You may find that this makes you feel a lot better by just having the exogenous ketone product. But if you're already eating keto, low carb, high fat, you're totally crushing life, there's no problem in just continuing on with that and not taking the product. If you find that you feel best at a higher ketone amount, and no matter how hard you try, you just can't get up to that level, exogenous ketones can be really helpful. But if you're feeling fine on a low-carb diet or you're eating a ton of carbs, I wouldn't recommend taking exogenous ketones because they won't really do anything for you. I chose Perfect Keto as my exogenous ketone of choice. They don't put fillers in. They say exactly how much BHB is in the product. It's available in Canada and the US. They're very, very high quality product. The company is really kind to customers. If you have questions, they will answer them. They will email. So I've put together a little savings code for you guys. You can go to perfectketo.com/HP and use the coupon code HEALTHFUL, that's all in caps, for 15% off. So if you want to check out their exogenous ketones, do it. Check it out, see how you like it. I really like the peaches and cream, but there's also a chocolate sea salt. So I'll include that there. A couple more minutes, you can write it down. And meanwhile, I'll see if there's any questions about what I just talked about. Okay, cool. So moving on to the next question. Who is keto good for? So there's some questions about gallbladder and whether or not it'll work on keto. I would definitely check up with your doctor and make sure that everything is good on that side. Just because you don't have a gallbladder doesn't mean that you're not creating bile. Your liver creates bile, and bile is used to break down fat. You just can't store it. So it's really important for you, if you don't have a gallbladder, is to consistently make bile so that you have enough to break down the food, or fat that you're eating rather. So for you, it's going to be really important to go toward fermented foods like kimchi and sauerkraut. And if you can do dairy, do some of the fermented dairies or any fermented vegetable, that's totally cool. Apple cider vinegar in your drinks can be really helpful, or having them before your meals just to help with the bile production. So you're constantly making it. Is keto safe for your body, and how long should a person follow a ketogenic diet for? I've been following it for 3 years and I have no intention of changing it. My blood work and my health just keeps getting better and better every month, but it's really up to you. I would say that for me, what's been really beneficial in my ketogenic journey is a more of a cyclical practice. So, if I'm out on my birthday or I'm out with friends, I end up having carbs, and because I'm very fat adapted and it's easier for my body to slide back into that fat burning mode, I'm back in ketosis the next day. The second piece is that it's safer for me to be in a fat-fueled state than in a carbohydrate-fueled state for so many reasons. My mental clarity, my ability to work long hours like today and not totally break down. It's just so much more of a cleaner, safer fuel for my brain. And I find I'm able to work harder, stronger, faster in this state than anything else. And it makes you more adaptable. Being keto has opened up a lot more doors for me. I'm able to eat carbohydrates when, they're around and I have them as a treat, and then I'm able to burn fat immediately after I've burnt through the carbohydrates. Whereas before, I was always stuck in this carbohydrate fueled state, and it was very hard for me to burn fat. So I would definitely chat with your doctor if you have any concerns, but that would be my experience that I've had on the ketogenic diet. Is the ketogenic diet okay for type 1 diabetes? If so, where do I start? Definitely chat with your healthcare provider. I can't tell you whether or not something will be good for your body based on your health status. I don't know your body. Your doctor's going to have a better sense of what's good or bad for the current health state that you're in. Okay, I'm going to check through a couple more questions. Cool. Okay. Next question. Does the high-fat part of keto clog your arteries? I love this question for so many reasons. Okay, so fat can't really travel freely in our bloodstream because our blood is primarily made out of water, and fat and water don't mix well. So the fact that people think that when you have some coconut oil that all of a sudden fat is going to go into your bloodstream and then clog your arteries is crazy town. So first off, know that that's not how that works. So fat travels around in lipoproteins along with cholesterol, protein, and phospholipids. And the idea that fat somehow leaps out into there to clog arteries is kind of crazy. So arterial walls, first of all, are damaged by, think of the damage as being cuts or scrapes, or I have a little scab right here. So this would be very similar to what would be in my artery is, a scrape. And that scrape is caused usually by smoking or processed foods or pollution or a ton of stress. And to repair these scabs or scars, or however you want to think of it, we need vitamin E. And surprisingly, vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin. So we actually need fat in order to make the vitamin E bioavailable. So carbohydrates actually increase triglycerides, which we're told is a cardiovascular biomarker. And, inflammation is increased, and cholesterol, say you're eating, grains every day, or you have the pollution, there's lots of things going on, and you're causing a lot of inflammation in your body. Cholesterol is actually increased to deal with that. And what often happens is that we go to the doctor, they test our blood work, and it comes back that our cholesterol is high, and we go on these cholesterol-lowering medications. Meanwhile, the inflammation is increased. So there's a lot of pieces to this whole puzzle, but I guess what I wanted to start off with was, first of all, fat doesn't freely float anywhere in your bloodstream. And second of all, in order to heal scabs in your arteries that can cause that arterial plaque, we need fat in order to absorb the vitamin E in our foods to be able to heal those scars. So let's get into what we're eating on a ketogenic diet and kind of how all that works. The first question is, how does eating a more plant-based nutrition plan affect the 20 grams of total carbs? Is it possible to have higher carbs and stay in ketosis? So my body is able to stay in ketosis at a rate of around 80 grams of total carbs. I know some of you are like, sorry, what did she just say? I've been doing this now for 3 years, and I've seen that many people are actually able to go quite high in carbohydrates. Granted, they don't have any blood sugar dysregulation. So when I first started the ketogenic diet, I was quite metabolically damaged. I had hypoglycemia, and so it was really important for me for those first 6 months to eat quite considerably low carb. And then once my body was healing itself, I was able to actually eat more. And that eating more carbohydrates came in the form of plant-based food. So I hope that answers your questions. Are sugar alcohols bad for you? I really love monk fruit, xylitol, erythritol, and stevia. If I had to choose my all-time favorite, it would probably be monk fruit because it doesn't have any weird aftertaste or anything. So that would be my approach to sugar alcohols. There are a lot of keto-friendly sweeteners that I would never put in my body because they cross the blood-brain barrier. They've been shown to cause a bunch of issues, a bunch of health issues. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about that. Next question is, I'm a huge fan of fresh fruit. Is fruit totally off limits? If not, what are the fruits allowed and which fruits are the worst to be avoided at all costs? And what can I replace my fruits with? Well, you replace your fruit with more fat, like a lot of fat. Some keto-friendly fruits would include things like berries, and we've already chatted about that. And then like on the highish end, it's like apples and pears, which may still be okay if you have like a little bit. Some of the high-fat fruits, or rather high-carbohydrate, high-sugar fruits are going to be things like bananas, pineapple, cherries, medjool dates, any of those like super fruit, sugary things. Next question, is it possible to meet daily nutritional requirements as a ketogenic vegetarian? And if so, what things to look out for specifically? Totally, it's possible. I wouldn't do it because I was vegan for many years. It didn't resonate with me. But if you're looking for more resources, I do include them quite a lot in the Keto Beginning, and I'll show you again. There's some in here. There's also some in my podcast. If you just search Keto Vegan Leanne or Keto Vegetarian Leanne, I got a bunch of recipes on my site for you to check out. Okay, fasting, intermittent fasting. What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting combined with keto? I think it's great. I fast all the time, and it's not so much of a forced fast. It's really just about I go all day without eating, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I just fasted. I guess I should eat something. I'm kind of hungry. So I really like that fasting and keto are such a great meld together, and they're just so great for being able to pair well together. On a ketogenic diet, I'm able to eat low carb, high fat throughout the day, and the next day I might not be hungry, and that's so cool, and I could never do that before. So I think fasting is a great tool that allows us to experience a ketogenic diet a lot differently. So I would say just eat keto, and fasting will come over time. So if you're just joining us in, my name is Leanne Vogel. I blog over at healthfulpursuit.com, and you guys can find more information from me over there. And I also have a program called The Keto Beginning, which is a 30-day program. So head on over there if you're a little bit curious about getting started with your ketogenic diet. So a couple more questions we have. Is it normal to feel nauseous and not have much of an appetite toward the end of the first week of being keto? Totally normal. Remember we were talking about the gallbladder and the adjustments you can make on the adjustments you can make in order to support your gallbladder more. I would do a lot of those things like fermented vegetables, apple cider vinegar, and you may have gone too hard on the fat too quickly. And there's nothing wrong with that. I did it too, and I learned kind of what my limits were, and it's just a part of the process. So I would go more toward building up that bile production to break it down. You could try an enzyme that has some ox bile in it to help break down the fats a lot quicker. And the next question is, what is the best way to bust through a plateau? Okay, so say you've been eating keto for a while and you're like, oh my gosh, this is working, I'm losing all this weight, and then all of a sudden you stop losing weight. And you're like, what's going on? I thought we were friends. It's the worst, right? So there are a couple of strategies you can use to get back into the groove. The first one is that you can boost your amount of calories. Yeah, I said it. So say you're eating 1,200 calories, 1,200 calories, 1,200 calories. Your body's actually going to down-regulate to the point that now it only needs 1,000 calories in order to, maintain basic function. So therefore, the 1,200 calories that was helping you lose weight is now not so really much working. So by boosting up your calories, you actually boost up your metabolism, and the following days you might actually lose weight. Another thing is doing a carb up. So this might be new to you guys. If you're curious about it, you can definitely Google Healthful Pursuit Carb Up to learn more information. I do include carb up practices in Balanced Keto, which you can check out by going to ketovalley.com/plan. But the carb up practice is basically eat low carb, high fat all day, and at night, take out the fat, put in the carbohydrates. And the carbohydrates can be things like sweet potato or plantains or potatoes or corn or any sort of grain if you want to go that route. Basically any sort of carb you can never think or wish for. So what happens in that state is once you're fat adapted, like I was talking about before, when you have those carbohydrates, your body will burn up those carbs and go straight back to burning fat. It's not like you're starting from square one, but it can help boost up your ability to burn fat. And you may find that you end up breaking through your plateau. The third thing is changing up your macros. Maybe you want to adjust your macros to help along with busting through that plateau. So it could just be a matter of reducing your carbs, increasing your carbs, reducing your fat, increasing your fat, and the same thing with protein. And the fourth thing is that you could try a 24-hour fast and see how you go. And that can be different for everyone. It could be including fatty coffee in your fast. It could be just water. It could be bone broth. So those are some ways that you could bust through a plateau. Yeah, so we did it. Oh my gosh, I had planned on 30 minutes. I got through all of your questions. I'm pretty happy about it. Again, I'm going to put together, this is for Balanced Keto. And you can use that to get a keto meal plan delivered to your inbox every single week on Tuesdays, including a shopping list and all of the recipes you need. And then we chatted about my keto beginning program. If you're totally lost those first 30 days and you just need help right now, that could be really helpful for you. Yeah, all these links about the carb ups and everything are in the comments. Thank you so much for posting all of them. And the last one we chatted about is exogenous ketones. This is perfectketo.com/HP with the coupon code HEALTHFUL for 15% off. Yeah, so I hope you guys learned a couple of things. I could chat forever about this. I'm on YouTube if you want to check it out. I have a bunch of videos. Some of them are linked to in the comments below. And thanks so much for having me. Thanks for showing up. And you can find more from me at healthfulperstate.com. Thanks, guys. Bye.